Dear students, this will be our last lecture about the placement of stress in English language. I acknowledge and understand that stress is a complicated issue in the phonology of English language and in any other language. What makes the matters worse is that we do not have face-to-face lectures, so that's why I give so many time and effort to teach you understand the placement of stress. Dear all, in the first slide we are going to explain the features of a stressed syllable. By features here I mean what does it mean when we say that in this word which has several syllables like 3 syllables, 4 or 5, this syllable is stressed and the other syllables are unstressed, because as you know in a word only one syllable is stressed, it carries primary stress, and the other neighboring syllables in that word, the other adjacent syllables, they are unstressed. So what is the difference between the stressed syllable and the unstressed syllable? It is said that the stressed syllable is usually more prominent. Here this is more, I sort of have to correct it later. This is more, okay? More prominent than the unstressed syllable. Prominent, it means it's more visible, it's more influential. Which means that when we say it's prominent, it means it's louder. We pronounce it with a louder voice, while the neighboring syllables are, or the unstressed syllables, they are quieter, they are calmer, but the stressed syllables are usually louder. It's number 2. When we say it's more prominent, it means it's longer. The duration, the length of that syllable is usually longer than the neighboring syllables. Okay, and then number 3, it shows more pitch variation. Variation here, it means change in the pitch. We change our voice from being loud into calmer, or from being calm into louder, and usually pitch is the vibration of the vocal folds. It means we change the vibration of the vocal folds. So here we have one example. It's from your book, by the way. It says we have the word parrot. In this word we have 2 syllables, parrot, and this vertical small high line, according to the IPA, it is the symbol of a syllable. When we put it in front of any syllable, it means this syllable carries stress. It means this syllable is stressed. So this pa, which is stressed, and this rut, which is unstressed, what's the difference between them? This pa is more visible, which means it is louder. We pronounce it louder. It lasts longer, and it's pronounced with pitch variation. So we say parrot. So we somehow swallow the rut. It means when I say the second syllable, the unstressed one, we say it with kind of quickly and quietly. But the stressed syllable, we say it with more muscular energy. Our organs of speech make an effort to pronounce it parrot. But when we come to rut, to the unstressed syllable, we just leave it for itself. Our organs of speech just pronounce it, leaving it for itself. It means just carry on without making any effort. So the first syllable is pronounced louder, longer, and with the pitch variation. This is about the features of a stressed syllable. And usually the stressed syllables from one language to another, they are different, and their features are also. Then we move to the next slide, which is, as you can see in the title, the function of stress in English language. What kind of role does stress play in languages, especially in English language? As you can see here, it's written all languages have stress. Stress is a universal feature of all languages. but the role they play is different from one language into another. If we talk about languages like our native language, like Kurdish language, like Farsi, which is from the same language family, because both Kurdish and Farsi are an Iranian language, or French language, or Turkish language. These languages, the stress is usually on the final syllable of the word. So the function of stress in this language, we talk about function of stress, is called, as you can see it in your book, it has a delimitation role, or we call it sometimes demarcation role. It means they mark or they identify the edge of the word. When the final syllable is stressed, it means that by stressing that syllable, it tells us that this is the end of one word, and then what comes after it is the next word. But in English language, stress it has different functions. See your book in page 80. It explains the function of syllable in English language. It has three different roles. The first one, it has a differentiating function, which means it distincts one word from another. So there are so many words like insult, like insult, like compound, like contact, like contrast, like invalid. When the stress is on the first syllable, that word is a noun. But when we move the stress to the second syllable, it means that word becomes a verb. So it's an insult to talk loudly inside the classroom. In that case, the word insult is a noun. When I pronounce the first syllable as a stress syllable, I said it's an insult. But if I say don't insult your friend, in that case, in the second example, the second syllable of insult is stressed, and the word becomes a verb. Don't insult. So by changing the place of stress from the first syllable into the second syllable, it changes the meaning of the word, and it changes the parts of speech of the word. Okay. Number two, stress can also be used to make contrast. Sometimes maybe our listeners mishear us or misunderstand us, and then we make a contrast between two very similar words in terms of their pronunciation. So somebody may misunderstand you, and then you make a contrast between two words that causes misunderstanding. As the two words we have here, they are printed in bold. And again, this is from your book, this example. I said a big farm, not a pig farm. So it's a very big farm. So you may confuse between the big and pig. And then when we stress big, in that case, our listeners can hear us better, and it removes any mishearing or misunderstanding of the two words. I said a big farm, not a pig farm. It's a contrasting function of the stress. Finally, stress can also make an emphasis. In a sentence, one word carries the meaning more than the other words. In a sentence, one word is more important than the other, and the speaker wants to focus on that word more than anything else. In that case, the speaker stresses that word in English language. So we say he ran all the way to the pub. He ran all the way to the pub. In this sentence, the speaker wants to focus and put emphasis on the running of that person more than anything else. Okay. That's about the function of stress in English language. To summarize, it has three functions. First, differentiating function. Second, contrast. And third, emphasis. And as I said from the beginning of this slide, this is the function of stress only in English language. In other languages it may have other functions. Okay, and then finally, stress placement. This is kind of like opening a can of worm. It means it's a big problem. It's not easy. Sometimes in some phonologists and some linguists they say if you want to master the English stress, it's better to, while you learn the meaning of the word in your dictionary with the meaning of the word, try to know where the stress is. It means with every word try to know where is stress, what the place of stress. But this is something somehow impossible. It's very difficult to do that for every word, to know where is the stress or in that word. Somehow we try to find rules for stress placement. In English language, before I explain the place of stress in English words, let me tell you something, that stress placement in languages are different. In a language like Kurdish, for example, as I said, like Turkish, like Farsi, like French, stress is always final. It's on the final syllable of the word, and that's all. It's not complicated. In a language like Czech, it's on the first syllable. In a language like Polish, it's on the it's on the penultimate syllable. Penultimate, which means one syllable before the final. But in English, it's different. So many factors play roles in the placement of stress. This is explained in your book in page 81, as I put it between brackets here. Just if you want to read it in detail, go to your book in page 51. As I said, there are three factors which play a role in the placement of stress. The first one is the word class, whether the word is noun, verb, adverb, adjective, or preposition, conjunction, etc. There are usually two word classes. One of them are called content words. Sometimes they are called open word class. They are lexical words like nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. These words can usually be stressed. But also we have some grammatical words. They have grammatical function in the sentence. They do not carry meaning. They do not have meaning. They are called closed parts of speech, or grammatical words or function words like prepositions, conjunctions, auxiliary verbs, modal verbs. Usually they are unstressed in English language. Okay, so we somehow ignore the grammatical words like prepositions, conjunctions, etc., but we focus on noun, verb, adjective, and adverb. These words, so they are different, and the placement of stress is different from a noun to verb, and from adjective to noun and to verb, and etc. So the first one, the first factor that plays role in the placement of stress is the word class. Number two, the nature of any suffix that may form part of the word. Suffix like ate, ic, fortune, fortunate, metal, metallic, personal, personality, ity. These are suffixes that add to the stem of the word. They play a role. They sometimes there are suffixes that are called neutral suffixes. They do not influence the placement of the stress, and also we have stress shifting suffixes. They change the place of stress inside the word. And factor number three is, it should be number three here. Later on I edit my slides and write number three. It's the syllable structure, whether the syllables are heavy or light. In a language like English, usually light syllables are unstressed and heavy syllables are stressed. So although I explained this several times in previous slides and in other videos, but quickly and simply I remind you of the placement of stress. In nouns in English language, usually we look if we have one syllable in the noun, so we have no choice. In that case, that syllable is stressed and that's all. It's not complicated. But when we have two syllables and more, or three syllables or four syllables, in nouns in English, we start with the penultimate syllable. Penultimate, it means one syllable before the final. So if we have two syllables, the penultimate syllable, it means the first syllable. And the one before final makes the first syllable. We look at that syllable, and if that syllable is heavy, it means that that syllable carries stress. If it's not heavy, we move one syllable to the left, to the anti-penultimate. Anti-penultimate, it means two syllables before the final. Okay? Two syllables before the final. Then, for the verbs. For the verbs, we start with the final syllable, or we call it ultimate syllable. If that syllable is heavy, it's stressed. If not, we move to the left. But with adjectives, adjectives are more complicated. I'm sorry about that. If there is but it's not my choice, it's just the nature of English language. If we have a suffix with the syllable, like if we have a suffix added to the adjective or at the end of the adjective, in that case it functions as a noun. So we have an adjective like wonderful, so we have the suffix full added to wonder. In that case, the adjective acts like a noun, which means what? We start with the penultimate syllable and one syllable before final. If that's heavy, it's stressed. If not, we move one syllable to the left. But if there is no suffix added to the adjective, in that case it functions as a verb. So we have an adjective like insane. I'm looking at your book. This is the book that you have it, and the examples are from your book, page 83. 81, 82, and 83 are about the placement of stress. We have insane. This adjective, since we do not have a suffix, we add it. It functions, or it acts like a verb, and since it acts like a verb, it means for the placement of stress, we look at the final syllable. Since it's a heavy syllable, it's stressed. Okay. This was a summary about the placement of stress. Hope every one of you are safe and healthy. As I said, this was the final presentation about the syllables. Don't hesitate to ask questions or if you have any comments about this video or on any other previous videos, and later on we move to other topics. Goodbye for now.